I'm coming back because I felt compelled to comment on this album. As a casual fan of the rap genre, J. Cole is one of my favorite artists. The allure comes from years of, and probably at this point over a decade, I believe, of his creative excellence, storytelling, originality, humility, and complex understanding and respect of music itself. Like others around me, my interest in his work has certainly faded and fallen off, no pun intended. When it comes to his more recent stuff, for me, my understanding of J. Cole and this album in particular are blanketed in nostalgia and his own years-long promotion of this farewell to the game. I'll preface this whole reaction, so feel free to stop listening and call me an idiot, by hesitantly saying that J. Cole has not released great music since 2018, and even then, KOD is subjectively in my okay/good category due to how unique it was for the time stylistically, considering he hadn't dropped in 2 years at that point with For Your Eyes. And then 2014 was Forest Hills Drive before that, which obviously general consensus is that that is in a heightened category of its own, and for me has honestly changed my expectations for rap music as a whole and what I expected from this album from J. Cole. But disregarding his features, his singles, and the other nonsense that he got wrapped up in, I won't give my 2 cents on the big three beef because I'm not fluent enough to understand it. Adding Friday Night Lights to streaming platforms was probably the best musical decision he could have made at this point in his career because he did it somewhat recently. But then also, I think he should continue to introduce his older music that's not on mainstream platforms to newer fans, and even to old fans, obviously. But it introduces new fans to his classic style, and it kind of really helps paint the picture. If he wants to convey his transition from the student of the game to now he claims he's the teacher, and this is his farewell, I think everybody needs to have access, or at least easier access, to his whole story. And just talking about Friday Night Lights, just as an example, that was such an important project for his career. I think that everybody should be aware of that, the other stuff that he's worked on. Again, I'm biased and aching for nostalgia. I just wish that the fall off was half of what he had cracked it up to be, and the marketing was really there for it over the course of his career. I was looking for something a little more outwardly reflective and thematically straightforward when it comes to talking about his legacy. What I mean by that is he believes that this album is supposed to convey his full transformation as an artist over the course of his career, like I've said, and then this is the grand finale to his story. I think that this album goes too far left, right, up, down, zigzags in different directions, and it doesn't keep me fully immersed in his music and the story he's trying to tell. Feels like he worked a little too hard on some of the meta references and the homages to hip-hop history. I get that's who he is and that's what he wants to do with his music, but I don't think that really translated well. In the past, he's hoisted himself onto the throne of the rap game for so long, and he kind of held that uncontested. Drake went off in whatever direction he went off, wherever he's doing now. I don't know what the hell he's doing now. And Kendrick has kind of had this weird little renaissance in his career, and I think the constant throughout that is that J. Cole was at the top of the rap game, and everybody kind of really respected him for it. But now, as the big three have gotten older and they've gone in these weird directions, it kind of feels like J. Cole is claiming this throne and this new throne and is waiting for somebody to notice him. Similar to how, like, if a kid begs for attention because they want to show you a cool trick, and then the trick ends up being them doing a really bad cartwheel. It just doesn't. It's not like it doesn't mean what it used to mean. But on one hand, I get that this is what his idea of portraying his legacy is. He wants to convey to us, the listener, what he has learned over the course of his 20-something year-long career. The problem is that he's done that before. Born Sinner is about that. I think that the Sideline Story is about that. We know that he's influenced by Jay-Z and other popular artists of that time when he was getting started in the early 2000s, or the late 2000s, I mean. He pays homage in so many different ways on this album. He samples Common, Nas, Jay-Z. Those are quite obvious. I even felt there was a little bit of an Eminem flow in some songs. There's probably plenty more, and there's more that I'm beginning to appreciate upon a second listen. But for a first listen, since this is a raw reaction, I gotta say, this is a 7 out of 10. I think there's a disconnect between the hype he created and the product he put out, and it's probably his worst album, I hate to say it. Songs like 2-6 and The Let Out make me feel like he's buying into popular sounds while still trying to storytell in the way that he did on previous projects. And again, I don't think that translates well. Ironically, I think he's even dipped into the sounds of the newer artists that he's previously dissed. I've noticed that trend in the off season and might delete later. He also goes into singing a little bit, which I think he's done before, and it's fine, but I don't think it sounds as good as we've heard previously. It doesn't really match up with the production of some of the songs he's doing it on. And if you listen to the album in order, disc 39 is definitely full of better songs. I just wish I didn't have to listen to mostly mid-tier stuff for 45 minutes to get to the meat. Overall, some songs are forgettable. Most of them are lengthy. The whole album's lengthy. I think it's too long, and I have trouble distinguishing his message sometimes. But again, I'm also an idiot, so take my word for a grain of salt. I'm sure there's other listeners out there who enjoy the majority of the album. That's great. It does have positives, don't get me wrong. Fall Off is Inevitable, the song, which was one of his early releases to promote the album, was great. I enjoyed the music video. I thought it was very creative. And I was hoping the album would be rooted a little bit more in that sound. I have a couple of songs I think are tied for my favorite, probably Safety. I loved the Outkast tribute in The Villist. Of course, an Erica Badu feature, you can't go wrong with that. And Quick Stop, which Quick Stop feels more like his stuff on KOD and For Your Eyes, which is an underappreciated album, in my opinion. Admittedly, I had to go listen to Forest Hills Drive after this album to remind myself of what we once had and what I thought what he was going to be going back to, but he wasn't, and I was a fool to think that. I think that some of these songs will grow on me, and I hope that you have the patience to sit through the meh to get to the good if you want to listen to this album for the first time, truly, all the way through. If this is the end to his career, it didn't end the way I expected it to. But again, I'm just a silly little casual listener who has been listening since I was probably, 13 years old. Music changes over time, and time changes us. So until next time.